I was thinking about just grounding
Yeah.
in general and being able to sit in something that initially seems incredibly uncomfortable. But then when you get into it and you start to realize, hey, I have the ability to do this. I never thought I would have the ability to, but hey, we're inching closer to it. And I imagine those are the things that you see in the work that you do.
Yeah. And it's wild to watch somebody who in the first session was like, yeah, I can't even talk about that, all the way to, with the support of the practitioner, being able to get closer and closer, knowing that they're safe, knowing that I can come into the present moment and know that I'm safe in my body right now so that I can actually touch that or look at that or get anywhere near that so that that thing isn't having a stronghold over me. Right? Because a lot of times there's so much fear around whatever the trauma was, whatever the experience was, sexual abuse, relationship trauma, right? Like when you have somebody who's had those experiences, they just want to never have to feel that way ever again. So it's not always helpful with traditional talk therapy to just talk about the trauma because you could re-traumatize somebody that way. And so being able to make sure that they feel safe in their body, even if that takes as long as it takes, 2, 3, 5, 10 sessions, like it takes as long as it takes because that's the work. If you can't feel safe in your body, then talking about the trauma is just going to be painful. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to find safety.
And everyone's therapeutic journey is going to be different, right? So you come in with this tool belt of different tools of talking about CBT and DBT and the modalities that you have within your practice.
Yeah.
But you're going to be customizing that to everyone's therapeutic journey.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's exciting for you to add somatic therapy to that, to be able to really look at it from a complete point of view of the people that you're working with.
Yeah. And I have the magical experience of being able to combine somatic work with EMDR. So if you're not familiar with EMDR,
I would love to know more about that because I know about EMDR, but then I wasn't thinking about the somatic piece.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, those two seem to marry well.
They so do, because with EMDR, you're using bilateral stimulation, right? Like I like to use the tappers. The traditional method is the fingers back and forth, watching, because you're trying to stimulate both sides, both hemispheres of the brain in order to allow processing of, subconscious kind of emotions and thoughts. And with combining somatic work, you can really get a lot of safety on board in the body before going into those places and processing trauma. So part of the EMDR structure is to begin with resourcing and to find that calm or safe place and to know that you have access to it. But if you can really reinforce that and build that in the body, not just in the brain, then going into trauma work, it can process. It goes because you feel so much safer in your body to go to those places and access those things. So then your brain is just processing. I had a client who, just out the gate, and this is before we ever did somatic work. This is just a plug for EMDR for a second. Out the gate was able to start processing because you identify the negative cognition and then you just allow the brain to just go. And they just started pulling, like if let's say the negative cognition was I'm bad, they just start pulling all these different situations that made them feel bad. Like as a bad person, like I'm a bad person. Oh, process this, process that. And the brain just naturally moves through it, right? So what we're doing with somatic work, coupling it with EMDR, is really resourcing that person to really be able to feel safe so that when we go into EMDR, we're not re-traumatizing. We're not going back to a place where it feels overwhelming and scary and it's really emotionally exhausting. We're going back and we're kind of reliving a movie and we're just allowing the brain to process without having to have the same emotional intensity as without the somatic work.